left shot D-man, excellent skater. And we're just sitting right there and, we were able to make our selection. So that was, when you think about, the D that we have coming, the prospects that we have coming on the back end and the size that we have, and the skaters, it's obviously very exciting to add Simon, to that group. So we were certainly excited to add that name, and then we're just kind of sitting there, and there was a lot of talk about the goalies. And, for us, we had some great interviews with Sebastian Cossa. We probably over the last couple months probably had, 5, 6, 7 conversations. Obviously Stevie was a big part of those talks. And it just seemed everyone that we were talking to, were real big fans of Sebastian. So here we are, adding a, 6'6" goaltender that's, everything that he's been able to do and everything that he's been asked to be very successful. And so with that said, real excited to be able to add Sebastian to the organization as well. Obviously we made a big trade to bring Nedeljkovic in last week, and now all of a sudden we, we're able to draft Sebastian Cossa as well. So pretty good day, goaltending wise, pretty good couple days goaltending wise for our organization.
Hey, Kris, just one last one. What was it about the interviews that really stood out about him? Just the maturity or what?
Just, it was really just getting to know him. The more you talk to him, the more comfortable I think he felt talking to us. And it was the same thing with, us talking to Sebastian, just having some real good conversation with him. He interacted. It wasn't just a matter of us just asking questions. He asked questions, to us about, being a Detroit Red Wing, and obviously the expectations of being.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. We will take a quick break, put everyone back in the waiting room, see if we can't get Draper back connected.
Welcome back. You know what, Ted? I honestly like I said, we had a lot of calls. It was a prospect that we certainly wanted to get to know. We were able to watch. Jesse Wallen was able to get in to watch him live. Bryce Toma was able to get in and watch him live, and we did a lot of video. And with that, we really wanted to get to know Sebastian. And like I said, the more conversations that we had, he engaged with us. He actually asked us some questions, about being a Detroit Red Wing and obviously an Original Six franchise. And I thought that was pretty good and very mature of him to not only answer the questions that we were asking, but also, kind of ask questions to us as well. So, as a group and as a staff, we felt that was, something that impressed upon us. And, it was just, having conversations with, we do, a lot of digging. We talked to, billet moms, we talked to his mom and dad, and, just kept coming back that, obviously the one thing that kept coming back to us was, obviously the passion that Sebastian had for the game and obviously the competitiveness that he had, and that was something that, certainly means a lot to this organization.
Perfect. That's all I need, Kris. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Max Bolbin with The Athletic.
Hey, Kris. Good to see you.
Hi, Max.
Can you just talk us through kind of the timing of a trade up like that? Like as you're watching the picks come off the board there in the early teens, how do you decide how long to wait and how soon to kind of jump to go get your guy like that?
You know what? As soon as I would probably say as soon as he kind of starts getting, into the teens, I think, analytically you start kind of punching in and crunching numbers of what it was going to cost to move up. And I think, as soon as there was a trade option that made sense to Stevie, obviously the first thing you need is a dance partner, somebody that, will trade back. And obviously we were able to do that. So, once we did that and kind of once we saw some names going off the board, we felt that, the value was certainly going to be worth it for the Detroit Red Wings to move up and get Sebastian Cossa, a goaltender that obviously we're very highly rated and very excited to get. And, you just kind of, the 6'6", the athleticism, the compete, obviously had, statistically this year, he had an incredible year, playing in the Alberta bubble, and you just start adding up all those things and watching him as underage last year in Edmonton as well. And it just made sense for us, to move up. And like I said, it was, probably sitting there and as some names were going off the board and analytically the numbers started to add up for us, that's when we decided, to make the trade.
When you look at Edvinsson and project him into the future, what do you see? I mean, what does he look like as a 23, 24, 25-year-old in your vision?
I think the one thing, and Simon has actually said that, is obviously he wants to get stronger. I mean, he's 6'4.5". He's, close to 200 pounds. I think, he's obviously a very smooth skater. His edge work and his deception with the puck is something that impressed all of us. Obviously over in Sweden, I know Thomas Karlsson and Håkan Andersson were able to see Simon play live this year. And then obviously a big group of us was in Texas for the U18s, and we were able to watch Simon play quite a bit. And, at the one rink, it was a smaller rink. You were literally on top of the players. And I think some of, watching, someone his size at 6'4.5" skate the way that he could. And obviously his edge work was something that really impressed upon us. So I think as he continues to improve, continues to get stronger, the opportunity to work with Nicholas Cronwell over there, we're very excited to bring him in. And, I think over the last couple of years, we've added some defense prospects that we're really excited about. And obviously, he has very good size and obviously a very good skater. So I think, those are the things that were intriguing for us. So, our expectations are probably the same as Simon's, that he's going to come in and he's going to be a top 4 defenseman for us and play a lot of years in the Detroit Red Wing uniform.
I think it's the third pick out of Frölunda in the first couple of rounds the last 2 years. Is that total coincidence? Is there a particular comfort level with that organization?
Yeah, you know what? I think it is a coincidence, to be honest with you. I think you sit there and you put your list together and, you're just wondering, is our first pick going to be from Sweden again? And, just the way the draft went and just the way our list went, It just added up. That was Simon Edvinsson again, but incredible program that they run over there. Obviously, the last couple of years getting over there to watch Lucas Raymond. Very familiar with that part of the world. Obviously, this year I wasn't able to get over there. But they run a great program, a great development program, and both Håkan Andersson and Thomas Carlson, and obviously Nicholas Cronwell as well, have great relations over there. So when it was all said and done, when you sit there and, like I said, when the draft is going to play out, and you're not quite sure, there's 5 names that were going to come off the board. I think everyone knew that, Owen Power was going to go number 1. And then there was a lot of people discussing from 2 through 10 what could happen. And we were sitting there, and fortunately for us, when pick 6 came, it was Simon Edvinsson for us.
One more quick one from me. Steve obviously traded a couple of picks in the previous week for Leddy and Nedeljkovic, and then obviously the trade up tonight. What goes through your mind as you see some of those picks? Like you're planning for them obviously the whole year, and then they're not there anymore.
You know what? Stevie touched on it. He obviously wants, he wants to draft and develop, but he also wants to put a very good product on the ice for the Detroit Red Wings. And, they all just made sense. We're able to bring Nick Leddy in, and I think he's going to be, a great mentor for a lot of our young D that we're going to have. The way that he plays the game, the way he can skate the last couple of years, going on long playoff runs with the New York Islanders, it just made sense to bring Nick Leddy in. And then obviously for Nedeljkovic, it was a position that, we were looking for, and we were able to get a 25, 26-year-old goaltender that, obviously was pretty impressive this year, and then was able to step up in some big moments in the playoffs. And it just makes sense. I mean, I think every director of amateur scouting wants as many draft picks as you want, but, it's also, when I walk into Little Caesars Arena, there's a lot of pride to go in and watch the Detroit Red Wings play as well. And those moves and moving out, obviously those picks to bring in the players that we brought in, it made sense to our organization. And that's why Stevie did it.
Thanks, Kris.
Thank you.
Next up, Helene St. James, Detroit Free Press.
Kris, you've seen up close how tough it can be on a goalie to play in Detroit. How much did Sebastian's swagger, I mean, just talking to him briefly tonight, he really seemed like he's very self-confident and not a lot's going to get to him. How much does that factor in?
You know what? I think it's important. When we had the conversations, this is his dream, is to play in the National Hockey League. It's just like everyone that got their name called tonight. And obviously a lot of prospects that are going to get all the prospects that are getting their names called tomorrow. The dream is to play in the National Hockey League. And with that, especially the position you pick, it's coming a lot of pressure. And, when you look at, how he handles it, the conversations that we've had. And, I was fortunate enough to play with, to me, one of the greatest competitors, in the nets, and Dominik Hasek. I talked to him about that. I talked to him about Dom's work ethic and the expectations that he had on himself, and why he wanted to come to Detroit. And I got to be honest with you, his eyes lit up, and we talked about that. It was almost like he wanted to have more. I was fortunate. We had a call with Chris Osgood. He was on a call with us, with Sebastian Cossa as well. And, Ozzy was able to, talk about, obviously Ozzy had 2 stints, and he was able to talk about the early days of his career. And he told some real valuable stories that I think Sebastian really appreciated. And then he also talked about when he came back on his second stint with the Detroit Red Wings, and about how he was a different goalie. And, I think that conversation, really registered with Sebastian. Obviously being able to talk to, Chris Osgood, Stanley Cup winner, over 400 wins. He also played in the Western Hockey League. So it was a real good conversation. And for me, I was just able to sit back and see how, Sebastian interacted with Chris Osgood. So, hung up afterwards and called Ozzy right away. And, I just thanked them for that call. And we were basically on the call for about 45 minutes. It was something that, I felt was valuable, not only for me to see how, that 2 goalies were talking and obviously interacting, but the questions that he was asking Chris Osgood. And, sometimes you could just kind of see his eyes lighten up with some of Ozzy's answers.
Steve said yesterday with the first pick, he said, you have to pick the best available player regardless of position.
Mhm.
How difficult is that to determine? And were you kind of shuffling papers as the first five? Well, I guess after Owen Power, after the next few names came off the board, as far as who you felt was the best available. And we know the value of a high-end defenseman,
Yep.
Winning championships. How much did all of those things factor in?
I honestly, Helena, all of the above. We just sit back and, the work is done coming into today on the top, basically the top 32 names of how we like those prospects. And as you're sitting there and names are coming off the board, you're crossing them out, having some conversation with Stevie of who we thought might be there. And obviously when it was time to make the selection, Simon Edvinsson was our highest ranked prospect on our board. And that's how, we came to the selection of announcing his name. And it was something that, our staff was, excited about. We added, like I said, a 6'4.5" defenseman, just a tremendous skater, great edge work. We know that he does have to get stronger, but, everything that we talked about, with him and with the organization in Frölunda, he's a focused and determined and passionate hockey player. And that's just, that's what we want to bring into the organization. So as we're sitting there and you get that, and it's a defenseman, we all know how important, those are to building teams.
So if you bring Kris in for a conversation with Sebastian, did you bring Nicholas Lidstrom in for a conversation with,
well, that's why we have Nicholas Kronwall on, so I did not have, on the conversation with Nicholas Kronwall and Simon. I know they've actually spoken tonight, but we've certainly, Kroner has so many great relationships over there. I certainly reached out to him, just to, background check, get some information, everything that we're hearing matches up. And that's exactly what Kroner did. So, it's unreal to have, Nicholas Kronwall over there in Sweden, along with Thomas Carlson and Håkan Andersson to gather information and gather intel for us. And in the end, like I said, our organization tonight, the Detroit Red Wings, are, very proud to add both Simon and Sebastian to our prospects and certainly the organization as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Mike Stone, 97 won the ticket.
Drapes, what was it about the goalie you selected that put him over the top as far as over Wellstat?
I think, I think for us, I think both are tremendous prospects. I think the exciting parts of, getting, a 6'6" athletic goaltender with obviously, very good technique and technical points in his game as well. It just, it was something, that we felt was very intriguing, to the team, to the Detroit Red Wings. And, when you, like I said, Bryce Tolman and Jesse Wallen were able to go in there. We were able to watch him last year in his underage year as well. And they just kept coming back of, a goalie that, second efforts, third efforts on puck, big, strong, very good skater, and his compete and work ethic. And like I said, with all that, and then all of a sudden you get the person, Sebastian Cossa, and what we found and the conversations that we had, it just made sense for us to make that selection with Sebastian.
And maybe the same question, but maybe unfair because of different positions. Is the defenseman you took, is he that much better than Eklund, who a lot of people, I've never seen either of them play, so I'm just speculating on what I'm reading. Is he that much better than Eklund, who most people had going as early as 3, actually?
You know what? I think that, it's you're looking at two different type of hockey players. You have a 6'4.5" left shot defenseman, basically versus, a 5'10" winger. And when we're sitting there and we're looking at, the importance of how we want to build the Detroit Red Wings. And obviously our goal is, to get into the playoffs and then build a Stanley Cup contender and then build a Stanley Cup championship team. We all know the importance of defensemen. So when we were sitting there and having the conversations, it just made sense to us. And in the end, for that reason, we wanted to go with the 6'4.5" left shot D-man.
Thanks, Drapes.
Thank you.
Our last question for Kris from Bob Duff, Detroit Hockey Now.
Kris, I'm talking to scouts leading into this draft. A lot of them speculated that there's going to be guys that are going to go tomorrow that are probably going to be great players because of the uniqueness of this season, where there were a lot of guys you didn't get to see much at all. Like there was a guy who went tonight who didn't play at all this season. How does that impact your choosing of players? Are you more willing to maybe take a reach on a projection of a guy because you don't have as much data on them from actually seeing them play?
Yeah, you know what? It's that's exactly what's in some instances. Now, for the most part, all the prospects, a lot of the prospects did play. Obviously, Ontario, was one league that did not play, but there were some players that certainly went over to Europe as play as well. But when you think about it, we were able to watch. It would be their underage year, but you're still going to the rinks and you're still watching these players. Their underage year as well. And we were able to watch them up to, basically the second week of March throughout the whole season as well. So, we do have some viewings. Obviously on some of them, you have to go back on video to watch how they played, last year. And, I got to be honest with you, Bob, there's some prospects that we talked to that didn't play this year that, put on anywhere from 16 to 22 to 23 pounds. All they've done is, they've trained, they've been home, they're eating properly, they're getting to the gym. So, it's intriguing when you start talking to these prospects, you see, how they were their underage year as 16-year-old, players coming into the league. And now all of a sudden they're 18 and here they are, from, putting on that much, weight and getting that much stronger. So for the most part, we've seen the majority of the players, but there's certainly some players, that we have to rely on. I know I have to rely on our area scouts and the belief that they have in the prospects that some of these names are going to be called tomorrow. So we have a body of work on them for sure. Is it as much as a normal draft? Absolutely not, because obviously, some of these, especially the Ontario prospects, Ontario players, didn't play nearly as much. And you even go into the Western Hockey League, some only played, 25 games or whatever it might be. But, you trust the area scouts, you trust the body of work from the underage. And from there, we'll make our picks.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be back shortly with Steve Yzerman.
Thank you.
go ahead and get started with Red Wings Executive Vice President and General Manager Steve Yzerman. Please let us know in the chat if you'd like to ask a question to Steve. We'll start it off with Mike Stone, 97-1 the ticket.
Steve, if Cossa was selected before you made the trade, would you have possibly made the trade with Dallas for the other goalie?
For the other goalie?
Yeah.
Which other goalie?
Wellstead.
Wellstead, yeah. Potentially, yeah. It was something we were considering, yes.
Thank you.
Next up, Helene St. James, Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Steve.
Hi,
So
Elaine.
we talked extensively yesterday about, picking the best available player. What about Simon made him check that box for you?
Well, he's a big, rangy D that can really skate. He's got good puck skills. We just see his potential to be a defenseman that can log a lot of minutes, left shot defenseman that can play a lot of minutes and be a solid defender that can add some offense to the game as well. So again, we like his skating ability, his size, his reach. And again, we're hoping he can become a big minute defenseman for us.
Just, going back to your playing days, I mean, you saw firsthand the importance of elite defensemen to winning championships. How much is that, fed into your drafting philosophy here with Simon 2 years ago with Moritz to just, if there's a really good defenseman available, grab him?
Yeah, again, I do go by the, you take the best prospect available. In a lot of these cases, they're equal. I can't tell you this prospect is a better prospect than that. They're all good. They're different. And we ultimately, again, saw, a need for us, but a big defenseman that we think is going to play a lot of minutes. And I think it's imperative to have a good defense, to win championships. Ultimately, you need a little bit you're not winning without a good goalie. You're not winning out with a good decor. And I think once you are a solid defensive hockey team, you're going to be competitive and you can win a lot of nights, and we'll be able to, over time, we'll be able to add to the offense.
And have you added Harold to your front office staff now? Does he have an office at LCA?
He's more than welcome. He did a great job. He was very excited and we were happy to have him. And, ultimately we'll see how Simon Edvinsson turns out before Harold gets offered a job.
Thank you.
Next up, Max Boltman with The Athletic.
Hey, Steve, what do you view Sebastian's potential as in the NHL, and what's kind of his runway look like from here?
Well, our hope is obviously where we pick him, or we did, you hope you're getting a starting goaltender. And we think he has the talent to do that. There's a lot of work to be done between today being drafted and eventually becoming a starter in the National Hockey League. But we think he has that ability. Obviously he's big, but he's very athletic. He's technically sound, but very, very athletic. So again, it's going to take a while. I can't tell you it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I really don't know, but we're excited. We think he's a real good prospect and he has potential to be a starter.
And then on the trade up, I mean, did you look at moving up for him a couple picks sooner and couldn't do it? What was it about 15 that made it the right time to go get him?
Well, the cost to go up higher was even more expensive. We're looking, you're kind of guesstimating a little bit. I'm not sure. I can't even remember now. We're doing if we contacted the teams prior to Dallas, but we looked at that group of teams from Dallas who was just, around the Rangers, around Buffalo picking. And we thought, we better get on the phone here and see if we can acquire him. But we thought somewhere around 15 that these goalies might start to go off the board. And so we really, there might have been options later on to still move up, but ultimately felt, to give up, we're giving up a second all day long to move up from 23 to give up the additional, whatever it was, fifth, to ensure we got up that high and got him. We thought it was worth it to do that.
Thanks, Steve.
Next up, Ansar Khan, M Live.
Hi, Steve. With Cossa, he really comes across as having a lot of confidence, swagger. I mean, did those traits impress you in your interviews with him?
I enjoyed speaking with him. We talked to him quite a bit. He is confident. He speaks well. We enjoyed meeting him, but mostly we like the fact that he looks like he can stop the puck.
And with Edvinsson, just what's the kind of the development timeline for him? Are you looking at another year in Sweden, or is that yet to be determined? Or?
Yeah, I haven't given it a ton of thought. Kind of my assumption would be that he would play in Sweden at least for another year. But again, it's not something we've even thought about. But I at this stage, I would guess that he stays in Sweden. He's in a great program, and if that's ultimately where he plays, we're more than happy with that.
Thanks, Steve.
Great.
Next up, Carlos Monarez, Detroit Free Press.
Steve, you've obviously recently traded for a defenseman, you've traded for a goalie, you drafted a defenseman, you drafted a goalie today. With all the concerns with your offense not being great the last couple of years, do you feel that there's been enough urgency paid to the offense? That you're addressing the offense? It seems like obviously you have Lucas in the pipeline, but how much concern is there for improving the offense?
Improving the offense. Yeah, more specifically, upgrading our pool of forward prospects is something we'd like to do. Ultimately, in this draft, again, we feel our approach has been, we'll take the best possible prospect, and where we were picking at 6, we had zero hesitation or debate over who we were taking at that pick. So if you look at our team and you look at our pool of prospects, we have a lot of offensive wingers. You mentioned Lucas Raymond, Jonathan Berggren's coming on our team with Larkin, Bertuzzi, Verana, Fabry. I'm missing another one there too. But we've got a lot of guys we've got a lot of wingers. We do need to score more, but ultimately you can't do everything in one season. You can't do everything in one draft. And again, we'll look at all different ways to improve our offense. But for us to say, hey, like we need a top 6 centerman, look in free agency and tell me if there's one there for us to get. So yeah, it's an area we have to improve on, and we'll continue to address it. But we simply, it's just taking time to build a team. And we'll try to balance it out. We'll continue to try and pick the best prospect available in the draft. We'll look at opportunities via trade or free agency as well as the draft to see if we can, complete not only our pool of prospects, but fill out a stronger or deeper or more complete roster as well.
Next up, Bob Duff, Detroit Hockey Now.
Steve, you look at the last 3 Cup winners, St. Louis and then Tampa Bay, the last 2 years. They've all had not only big defense, but big defensemen who can skate and move the puck as well. And it seems like you're going that way with Seider and with Wallinder and now with Edvinsson. Is that kind of the way the league's trending now? You need big defensemen that can play with skill?
Well, if you can get them, I think everybody would love big defensemen that can skate and play with skill for sure. I don't know that it's a trend. You see there's a lot, Tampa's got a couple of really good smaller forwards too. Really good. You think of Kucherov, Point, Yanni Gord, who they lost in expansion, Tyler Johnson. They're not big guys, but they did have big D-cores. They have very good goalie. They happen to have really good D-core. They're not just big, they're all really good. So, again, not necessarily a specific mandate to get big defensemen. Again, it kind of sounds silly, but we're trying to draft good defensemen, and if they're big and they can skate and handle the puck, I think that excites everyone. That goes in ultimately in every sport. Everyone likes talented, big, fast athletes.
Next up, Art Regner, DetroitRedWings.com.
Hi, Steve. Getting back to Cossa, I was struck by his off-ice story. I mean, having to, evacuate his house twice since 2016 at, Fort McMurray with wildfires and then flooding. How important was maybe the way he was able to balance that and yet still perform on the ice? How important was that to you as you were getting to know him, that he seems really grounded, especially for a goalie?
Well, as you've spoken to him, he's pretty articulate. He's very personable. He's not shy. He's confident. He has, he's lived away from home. He's had some pretty interesting life experiences, you point out as well. But Kris and his staff, Kris Draper and his staff, did as much research, talked to everybody around him to try to get a really good feel for him as a person, as an athlete. And we watch him to make our assessment as a goaltender. But from everyone that we talked to, from watching him over the last 2 years, our guys are confident that he has the mental makeup that it takes to be a really good goalie. You got to be able to roll with the punches and shrug off bad goals, bad games, and deal with a lot of adversity, maybe more so than any other position in our sport. So again, he's 18. He's got, as all 18-year-olds they have to mature physically and mentally, but obviously we think very highly of him to trade up to get him. And again, we feel he has the potential to be a starter in the NHL.
Yesterday you said that maybe this draft above any others because of COVID, that everything could be all over the board. Were you surprised at the way it played out, or did it go maybe kind of expected?
Nothing was terribly shocking. I think all the names, for the most part, that we saw in the first round were called, not necessarily in the order we expected, but nothing really jumped out at us that was a real surprise.
Great, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Our last question, Ted Colfin, Detroit News.
Hey, Steve, I'm just curious, does this feel at all like when you got Bassey? I mean, were there any similarities there? I mean, did you characteristics or just something that really kind of grabbed you that's like, well, we need to get this guy and whatnot?
Honestly, with Andrei Vasilevsky, his drafter, Al Murray, who was running our draft, I saw a little bit of video of Andre. I didn't see him play live at all that year. And Al was adamant that Andre was the best goalie he had seen in all his years of scouting. The only thing different, really, I don't want to compare Sebastian Cossa at this age to Andrei Vasilevsky, but the biggest difference was here in Andrei's draft, we were pretty confident, and you don't really know, but we were pretty confident that he would be there at 19, and we didn't trade up to get him. In fact, we took another player 10th overall because we felt pretty comfortable he would be there, and he was. This year, we didn't feel at 23 Sebastian would be there. We were concerned. You look at the teams in front of you and their goaltending, their future goaltending, their current goaltending situation, and their prospect pool to see if they have an up and comer to try and guess who's might take a goalie or whatnot. And we were a little bit worried that he would go, and if he went, or if even Wallstead went, the other would go right away. He's a very good prospect. He probably doesn't have the pedigree that Andre had, just because the last two seasons, last year the U18s were canceled. He didn't get to play in that if he was a candidate. They miss out on their playoffs. Edmonton has a very good program. This year he plays limited games. Would he have gotten to the World Championship, World Juniors possibly? So he missed out, like all of the kids these last 2 years. Missed out on some opportunities to really improve their pedigree. That would probably be the biggest difference. But again, it would be unfair to him, and I think it would be irresponsible of me to say I think he's got the potential of Andrei Vasilevsky, because if he's anything close to that, we'd be thrilled.
Appreciate it. Thanks for this, Steve.
That's it for us tonight. Thanks for your time, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Steve.